Vozim. Today we're going to have a look at the neuter endings in all cases. So I have some noise in the background. It's still quite warm, so I haven't got the fan on this time, but I have the window open. It seems like the dogs are barking. So bear with me. So let's look at the nominative case. Now the nominative case is where we find out what the noun actually is. We find its gender. Is it masculine? Is it feminine? Or is it neuter? Because we have three genders in Croatian. Now, the neuter gender ends in E or O. So we have vino, ends in an O, so it belongs in neuter. We have more, the C, ends in E, still in neuter, still a neuter noun. We have vino. Vino ends in O. It's a neuter noun. So in the nominative case, it is the subject case. And it's also a very descriptive case. We can say in the nominative case and the subject case whether the wine is red, white, whether it's cold, whether it's warm. Ooh, nobody wants to drink warm wine. Let's have a look at the sentence that I have here. Vino je dobro. The wine is good. So the adjective can end in an O or an E, and mainly they end in an O, but there are some that end in an E. So this is about the subject. So what is good? Vino je dobro. Another word, or two words actually, let's have a look at them. In the neuter nominative case is sunce. Now sunce, unlike pivo, ends in an E, but it's still a neuter noun. So sunce means the sun. Sunce je toplo. The sun, sunce, je is toplo, warm. Sunce je toplo. Let's have a look at more. Now we've got a beautiful sea. The Adriatic Sea is absolutely beautiful. We can say more, the sea. More je, the sea is. More je hladno. The sea is cold. So it is the subject there. More is the subject right there at the beginning of the sentence. And we're describing what the sea is. So, more je hladno, it's cold. Sunce je toplo, the sun is warm. Now, when we go into the accusative case, this is the object case. And so we're doing something with an object. Let's take vino. Vino is neuter. And in the object case, the endings don't change, so they stay exactly the same as in the nominative case, in the subject case. So the accusative case, the object case, vino just stays vino. Sunse, the sun, will stay sunse. Now we're doing something with the object, or there's movement. So we've got PM vino. I'm drinking wine. I'm doing something with this object. The object is wine. I'm drinking it. Or I'm going to this object. Idem namore. I'm going to the sea or to the seaside. Now we're not saying idem umore. We're using na because the sea is an open space. Doesn't have a roof on it. Now let's go to the locative case. The locative case has to do with location, and it's also got some little prepositions, some little words that when they pop up, it takes us into the locative case. So we could say Živim, Živim u selu. Now there is a change here. Selo, the village, becomes selu. It gets a U. And it also has the same changes as the masculine singular from here on in. So if you were watching my last video, that was on the masculine singular endings. So the locative, Živim u Selo, I live in the village. That's the location where I live. And selo will become selu. Now, the genitive case or the genitive case in Croatian has lots of little prepositions, lots of little words. And it also deals with origin and possession and quantity. Now, we'll take one of those little words, pored, next to pored. We could say kru, the bread, kruje, the bread is, kru je pored vina. The bread is next to the wine. So vino changes after one of these genitive little prepositions, and it happens to be pored next to, it gets an A ending. Vino becomes vina. Another preposition in the genitive case that is very common is bez, which means without. So if I said I'm without wine, vino is going to change to vina. Let's do that. Ja sam, I am. Ja sam bez vina. I am without wine. Now the dative case has the same ending change as the locative case. So remember we were saying Živim u selu, I live in a village in the locative case. Selo changed to selu. Well, the dative has the same changes. So prema is one of the little words found in the dative case, and it means towards. And when you're going to use prema, then selo is going to have to change to selu. So let's try that. Vozim se prema selu. I'm driving towards the village. Vozim se prema selu. So there's a little bit of movement in the dative case, whereas in the locative case, it's about location. We live there, we were there, we work there, etc. Now, the instrumental case has to do with with. With is s. That's how we say with in Croatian. Sometimes we say sa if a particular word begins with s, sh, j, or z. Then we use sa. But in this case, we're going to use s because it doesn't start with any of those letters. So we're going to use wine again, vino. And the great thing about this case is all of them, all genders get om, what I call an om, in the singular. So the feminine, masculine, and neuter all get this little om on the end, which I call an om. So let's use a sentence there. Pijem vodu, I'm drinking water, s vinom, with wine. Pijem vodu, I'm drinking water, s vinom, with wine. And so let's go over them. We had the nominative case, which is the subject case. We were describing the village, and we find the original gender, the noun's gender, in the nominative case. So if we looked up in the dictionary village and we saw it was selo in Croatian, that O would tell us that it's neuter. However, the neuter also ends in an E. So say we were looking up the sun and we found that in Croatian it was sunce, it ends in an E. Well, it would still be neuter. Neuter has O and E endings. So we could describe the village, selo je malo. The village is small. Okay, and notice the adjective ends in an O too. Sometimes they end in an E. Now, the genitive case, Selo becomes sela. Now, Nema, sela. So if we're going to use Nema, there isn't a village. Nema, sela. So Selo changes to sela after Nema. Or we could say there's no wine. Vino would change to vina. Nema vina. We could say there's no beer. Nema piva. So pivo would change to piva. Now in the dative case, we find this word prema, which means towards. If we're going to use that, then we're in the dative case, and it has the same ending as the locative case. So, selo becomes selu. Vozim se prema selu. I'm driving towards the village. Now, the accusative case has to do with the object, and it doesn't change. It's basically the same as the nominative case. Nominative, the subject is selo. The accusative case, the object is selo. So we could say vidim selo. I see a village. I see an object. Vidim selo. The object is the village that I'm seeing. Now, the locative case has to do with location. It has the same ending as the dative case, and it has to do with location. So I could say, Živim u selu. I live in a village. Or I could say, Radim u selu. I work in a village. Or I could say, Spavam u selu. I'm sleeping in a village. Now, the instrumental case, Selo changes to selom. It gets an OM on the end of it. Šetam, selom. Šetam, selom. So in this case, we don't need to have this sit there because we are walking around various parts of the village. We don't need to put the sit there because we're not saying with the village, we're simply saying Šetam selom. I'm walking through the village. Well, I hope that helped you today. And just stop at different parts, have a pause, and if you have any questions, just put them in the comments and I'll answer them. Have a lovely weekend. Bok.